Thank you. Martin?
Sure. It's very difficult for me to speak about Europe in general, so I'll just refer my comments to the UK, which is far more where I'm based on what I know about. I think the situation in the UK is definitely where if you're going to operate and add value, that you need a presence within that market. I think if you're going to try and address the UK market from here in India, then you're going to remain far more in the position that Phil referred to, where it's going to be lowish cost labour arbitrage. I think the cost differential, we've seen a difference and the coming together of the cost differential between doing business in India and doing business in the UK. And while it's always going to be important, I think the element of value and added value is going to become far more relevant to the way you do business. And I think it's obvious from the things that we've, or at least apparent from the things we've heard from the panel today, that it's also a question of scale. If we look at the major players, and it's very easy when you have people like Sudip here and you talk about Wipro and TCS, who are doing business in Europe in a major way and doing business in other countries all around the world. Much more difficult for a smaller company, for a small and medium-sized enterprise company to do that sort of business on a different continent. And therefore the question of build or buy, of merger or acquisition, becomes far more relevant. But certainly I think to increase value, a presence in the market is definitely necessary for the smaller company.
Okay. Phil?
Let me address, we've not really addressed the build or buy, and the build or buy question needs a context. From the point of view of almost every company that wants to be competitive in Europe today, they are aware of the opportunity that is placed before them by Indian companies, corporations. So for most of them, it isn't actually will they or won't they do something from a buy point of view from an offshore location. It's actually what and when. Then far more importantly, and hopefully it's come out through the panel, it's not just performing a transaction or sending some workload to a far-flung location, but it's actually how do they make that sustainable. So the sustainability issue is foremost in the board members' minds as they put pen to paper to sign any form of contract. Any idiot can spend money, anybody can sign a contract, but actually stepping up to the plate and making sure that the perceived benefits are delivered long term is a far more challenging thing. And that is your challenge, basically, to be able to convince European business leaders that you're there standing shoulder to shoulder with them as real partners, because they want partners. This is not low-cost labour arbitrage anymore, or just labour arbitrage alone. The European economies are doing actually pretty well generally, and therefore they're looking to increase capability, decrease time to market for new products. They want innovation. They don't want my mess for less anymore. They want fundamentally different in a different way, and kind of higher, faster, yes, cheaper, but fundamentally more capable. So it's a buy decision, buy vote for me, and it's underpinned by how do we make it sustainable? How do we make the model really work from a relationship point of view? Or else what they will perceive is over time it will run into disrepair.
Thanks, Phil. So last word.
It is indeed an indisputable fact that the market opportunity is quite significant. That's for sure. I mean, everyone knows that. The question is, how does one tap that? So one needs to come up with the right kind of market strategy. For some, it may be build. For some, it may be buy. I mean, we decided on buy. But as Phil said, just buying is not enough. You need to build on that. You need to leverage the assets that you acquire. That's very, very critical. It got to be 2 plus 2 being much, much more than 4. So that's for sure. And it's important. It's very important to have local front end. So that means when you acquire a company, when you enter a market, you don't just fire everybody. You retain the right kind of talent. You take the necessary steps to retain the right kind of talent. You invest in doing that. And most importantly, it's the cultural differences that one needs to be aware of, sensitive to. And as I said initially, when you interact with the British, even if you know the straight answer to a question, don't go straight into it. I mean, go around a little bit, deliberately, and then finally get down to the right answer. I mean, that's the way they prefer it. When you're in France, maybe you should make a few snide remarks about Britain. That'll probably take you a long way. But jokes apart, I had a fantastic experience in that sense. I was, just about a month ago, I was in a meeting with a few British gentlemen and one Irish man. So, for whatever reason, as part of when the conversation proceeded, I quoted Napoleon for whatever reason. Just after the meeting got over, I got a prompt email from the Irishman. He said, "Man, you actually quoted Napoleon to the British. That was great. I really liked it. Okay, I'm your supporter." So maybe such things, will help you with the Irish. So there are different ways and means, in which you have to interact. Jokes apart, I think cultural differences are there. Even in India, of course, we have significant cultural differences, and they exist in every region, and they exist in Europe as well. So we need to be sensitive to that and work hard at it, and I'm sure success can be ours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Subhash. I think we've had a very, very effective sum up of our discussions this morning. I'd like to thank all of you for being patient, kind, and participative, and hope you've had a useful opening session at NASSCOM. I'd like to thank NASSCOM and the WDA for inviting me and all of us. Thank you.